Hello, Janesville, and welcome back to Park Place Views, the monthly program that aims to keep Janesville residents informed by highlighting the people, places, and partners of the City of Janesville. As always, this program is brought to you by the City of Janesville and JATV Media Services. I'm your host, Amanda Gilbert, the Communications Specialist for the City of Janesville. In last month's episode, we sat down with Matthew Vahala, the General Manager for the Blackhawk and Riverside Golf Courses, where we talked about the courses, different services the courses offer, and took a look at what's to come in the 2025 golf season. Today, I'm looking forward to be joined by Library Director Eric Robinson. As Director Robinson is about to round out his first year with the Hedberg Public Library, I thought it'd be a great time to invite him on the program to talk about everything he's accomplished so far and where he sees the HPL headed as we continue through 2025. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eric.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you again. We had you right on pretty much after you started. We threw you right into the programming.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's gone really fast. We were joking a little bit earlier. It was literally a year ago, almost today, I was offered the job. So time has flown very, very quickly.
Yeah,
so.
And it's perfect timing to get you on the program then. But for our folks and our viewers who might not know you, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name's Eric Robinson. I been here for a year. Most of my extended side of my family are actually involved in libraries in some way, shape, or form. I went to high school in the Delavan area. We have a branch library in the mall. The reason I'm bringing that up is because 2 doors down from where the branch is I think at Claire's, where I got my ears pierced in high school. So
of course. It's like a rite of passage.
So most of my wife's side of the family is actually from the area, or my mother-in-law lives in the north side of town. And so this was an amazing opportunity because I had actually formerly been the library director in Fort Atkinson for nearly 7 years. And then prior to that, I had worked primarily in academic libraries. So I was a university director in Mount Mary in Milwaukee, but I've lived in the Edgerton area for like 20 years. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, perfect timing, and I was really excited about starting.
Well, awesome. I know we are all so happy that you're here. And when you came on the program about a year ago now, you came in with a bunch of fresh ideas and ways you can really liven up HPL. And so I want to definitely dive into those. But I want to start with what I think was one of the most important changes you've implemented since being here. And that's having the library go fines free. Can you tell us what that means and why it was so important?
Yeah, that actually happened really quickly. And just one of the bigger reasons why was it was something I was familiar with and very passionate about. And I mean, the big reason why is it was kind of amazing how many people were discouraged or were actually embarrassed about coming here because maybe they had $10 or more on their account. And, I have 2 kids. Even though I work in a library, it's challenging to find the book buried in your teenager's bedroom someplace. And so whether it was that kind of instance where they were just like, I lost this thing, we had a number of people who, once we started sort of thinking about it, that it became pretty obvious it'd be a big impact in their life. And so in the bottom line is there's a lot of misunderstanding about how libraries are funded. The fines were less than, I think it was 0.2% of our revenue. It was a nothingness. It was so little. And it was really actually prohibiting more people from using us than we liked. And so it's something that I'm familiar with, that I'd done in a previous library. Ironically, the very first meeting I had with the library board president, who is the group who I report to, which we can talk about in a little bit, oddly enough, Katie, who's the current president, she intended to bring it up to me, and I brought it up to her in literally the very first meeting we had. So she was very happy because she had seen that. She's a big library user, and so she knew the impact it would have on the community. And so it's been wonderful for us. I know that Megan, who primarily manages our bookmobile and does many other wonderful things for us, she went to National Night Out shortly after we had done and made this change, and they actually had people crying and emotional because they were either really ashamed or they hadn't, I couldn't afford to pay that. And the whole point of it was to create better access for the entire community so they could share lots of the wonderful things that we either currently have or we're in the process of getting, and other things we'll talk about. So it's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. But for folks who had a charge already on their account, do they still have to pay it?
Nope.
How does that work?
That was one of the other things we did, is we went back and wiped all old associated fines. So some people, I'll sit here and slyly smile. Some people will be like, well, then why would I ever bring stuff back? How we do it is we wiped all the old fines. But if it's something that, maybe I lost, and if I can bring it back within 6 months, we honor that. And even if you've paid for it, we'll reimburse you. And so we just send a very polite letter after 30 days and remind folks, they're usually sort of stunned and appalled that, oh my gosh, I forgot I still had that thing. And they pretty quickly bring it back. So.
Well, that's good, because I know that was a big topic too, was what's stopping people from just keeping it,
Yeah, no, there's a mechanics in place to sort of say, we're happy you checked it out, but if you keep it longer than a certain amount of time, 30 plus days, it's very soon going to be something billed on your account as though it's lost. But as long as you return it, it gets waived off your account and you don't have any fines. So.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
One of the other ideas you brought forward, I watched the episode back to kind of prepare and, plan things. One of the things you brought up was you wanted to make the library a place of experiences.
Yeah.
And part of that is the library of things.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, we had already started before I started here, but I really wanted to start growing it. And so really what it is, if you've never heard of what a library of things is, I brought wonderful examples.
Oh, look at that.
So what's going on here is these are, if you're on the floor of the library near the front desks, one of the other things we changed was we set up a lot more of our new materials to be in kind of a bookstore feel environment. So instead of just random stacks, it's nice. There's nice seating around it. And in that area is the library of things. And so what it is, it's a collection, and I know I'm just holding one thing, but this is a croquet set. So what you do is you see many of these types of things, like croquet kits. My wife happens to be a relentless and avid knitter.
Oh, nice.
So a yarn ball winder, exercise therapy kits. This is just some of the things, and we'll talk about this probably a little bit more later, but something we call experience passes, which are free passes to get into place. So these are all here. You just simply take this up to the front desk. They give you the actual real croquet kit, and you can actually check it out. So it is basically the easiest way to think of it, or like what other stuff we would have. Everything's on our website. But it is a lot of try before you buy. We've started to buy tools. We actually bought a hedge trimmer.
Wow.
I mean, I know when I had an apartment or first bought my home, I didn't have anything. And so it's a lot of stuff like that. And then there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff for gardening. We will have a seed library here pretty soon, meaning you can check out, meaning we give you seeds, and then we don't ask that you bring back produce or anything like that. We should probably demand that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of the things that you would find either fun, chess sets and just goofy stuff that you might not find that you could afford. But a lot of it too is just types of tools that you might use once or twice ever.
Right.
And why would you want to buy that type of thing? So, and our hope is to buy a lot more experience passes too in the future.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I imagine that these things fly off the shelves quickly.
They are, depending on what it is, they're almost never in because they're on hold or they're getting used. And we want to put a lot more stuff into that in the near future. We're just on the cusp of having a puzzle exchange. So we'll have a table out, and oddly enough, there's a lot of people that love doing puzzles. We actually get calls about it all the time. So we'll have a public table where there'll be a puzzle going all the time, similar to what happens at the branch right now. But then there'll be a take one, leave one. But within the library of things, some of the other things that the librarians who are responsible for collecting for that, they've already bought board games and other things like that we'll add in. So,
nice.
Yeah.
You brought up the branch, and it's fantastic because I wanted to talk about it next. For our viewers who might not know, the HPL is more than just located here at the physical library itself. You have the branch. And you have the remote drop boxes too.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, the branch itself is in the mall. So like I joked about where Claire's is. So if you're not familiar, if you were to go in through Kohl's and continue into the main corridor of the mall itself, it's very near what was kind of the older food court area. So it's just as you turn left and go in there. And what is out there is an extension of us, large print materials, books. There's been some programming that's gone on out there. We're going to do more crafts, that type of stuff that you can do. But it's meant to also be a convenience. So if you're like my mother-in-law who lives in the north side of town, if she wants to go place holds and pick them up there, you could do that there. So it's sort of a smaller version of us, but it's there for your convenience. And then there's 4 other drop boxes that we do have in the city. So I'm going to not remember all of them, but the Quick Trip on Milwaukee Street and Blackhawk Credit Union and 2 other locations that I'm failing to remember off the top of my head. But just so you know, if you're interested, where are they, and maybe I could go drop off. Those are on our website too. So if you look at hours and locations, it'll tell you exactly the location of those boxes. So
I think that's really great because, people are on the go. They might not have time to swing all the way down here if they're like on the north side, like you mentioned, meeting people where they're at, I think has been a huge addition to the library.
And we're really hoping to do more of that going in the future. I mean, because that's been a big shift for me personally, well, professionally, of we're a city library. And so who uses us is pretty far and wide. We've had a real surge of new library users, and they come from Oconomowoc and New Glarus, and we get tons of people from the Whitewater and Milton area all the time. So, the more convenient we can be, the better. So potentially down the road, we'll have a newer bookmobile. And instead of being only on the road like 4 months of the year, we're hoping to have it 10 months of the year. And that'll allow us to be in different places. So we kind of joke, where are some of those places going to be? I love food trucks. There's a food truck that's always in the Menards parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, we could go park next to that.
There you go. Books and tacos. You really can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the bookmobile and being out and about, you guys stay super busy, and I always see you at different events that I'm at as well. Do you have any coming up that we might be able to find you guys at?
Yeah, we, especially as the spring comes along and the summer, there's, especially around the summer reading program, there's an immense amount of things. So not to list off a bunch, but some more routine ones that we have is Books and Brews. So if you like trivia night and you want to, meet up with other people, I believe we typically get around 50-ish people for things like that. Peeps-O-Rama's coming up.
Nice.
So if you want to make a diorama out of Peeps, which I am not an advocate for Peeps, but and so some similar events like that, we will be starting what's called a memory cafe this month, and it'll be every 3rd Monday. And what that is for individuals, especially their family, who might have somebody suffering from Alzheimer's, especially, or memory loss. This is a program event that our actually newest librarian that we just hired, who's been involved in these in the past, she will be putting them on, and with some other HPL staff, to basically help one-on-one individuals in the community with whether they directly are affected by it or they're supporting somebody. That's been a really meaningful thing. So it'll start in-house, but we're hoping to do more of those types of events, specifically it's assisted living places and places like Cedar Crest and others. So
yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
And that's just really a tiny snapshot of the things you guys do.
Yeah, I could sit here, we could spend the whole time, and I'm going to show you one thing. I know you're aware of it, but some others, every month, you can go to our events page at any time and literally click, and it'll take you pages to get in even to the next month, because there's literally something here every day. And so, but we have printed off for every month for adults, teens, and children's and families, all the types of events that, so it's front and back. So we have book clubs. One of the ones I'm excited for, which I'm not sure will have happened by the time this airs, but Inga Wisher, who is a PBS chef, she's going to be here in a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she'll be doing a cooking demo. And so I've had events where Inga's come to in the past, and they've been so successful that I literally had to shut the door because we were going to break fire code if we allowed anybody else. So some fun things like that are coming up. We have some longer standing programs that are going on right now, especially in the children's department. We have kind of a mini trading card game. So for every 30 minutes you read, it's basically a dragon trading card game that the librarians made. So it's been amazing to watch kiddos come up and they've read, and I've actually had 2 parents come up to me and thank me like I was the person that did this, but it's all the wonderful work that children's librarians are doing, where they've legitimately said, like, my children read tremendous amounts now, and they really think like that kind of fun gamification of reading. And one said that his oldest son, who's just started high school, he's on the honors roll now, and he really thinks this is a component of it, is just fun stuff, getting an interest in always being accessible to things like that. Or a few other longer standing things that just got started was a community like blanket, in essence, that we're going to do. So we can talk about that a little bit more too.
Yeah. You guys have a ton going on, and it's also coming up on National Library Week. You guys are doing the community blanket too.
Yeah.
So many more that I can't even begin to list them all, like you said.
Yeah.
Could you highlight a few of those, like the bigger events too, like National Library Week? Yeah,
for that week, that's a celebration usually in April. That week specifically, we won't have like a individual thing that's going on, but one of them, like you mentioned, is the community crocheted blanket. So if I'm not a crocheter, but we've already started getting endless amounts of them, where if you're willing and able to crochet a book cover that you've read in the last year. So one of the things that we have, and you can find these pamphlets if you come in and you're interested in submitting them, you'll see pictures of this on the pamphlet if you come in, or on our website. You'll start to see it on our social media because we share it all the time, of covers of books that folks have, in essence, crocheted. And then in November, we'll put it all together as a giant blanket. Another bigger event that's coming up in the near future is Book Fest. I believe this will be our second or third year, definitely our second, if not our third year, where primarily local authors are able to come, and it's a seminar to help them with just advancing their own writing. So just to go back and not only support literacy directly, but support a lot of local authors that are in the area, which I think some people would be shocked at how many actual authors are truly in the area. But we'll have Maggie Ginsberg this year, who's the editor-in-chief of Madison Magazine, basically giving a keynote speech that everyone's invited to. But it's a fun couple-day event that we will have the long-standing annual summer reading program, and we've already started planning for Night at the Library, which is really a fun, and it turns into a bit of a fundraiser. So the theme this year is more of a glam rock murder mystery. So we're planning on having a live band, and it'll be part of like who actually killed who as a murder mystery night. So if you're not interested in the murder mystery, it's also a costume party. And then any proceeds that we receive from it ends up going back to the library to support other programs and events.
Well, awesome. That is super fun. Yeah. You really do have something for everybody here.
We're trying. We really are trying.
I want to shift away from programmings for a minute because I think people might not know all that goes on behind the scenes. You have the library director, you have the assistant library director, you have this whole group of staffing, the librarians, but you also have the library board and the Friends of HPL. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about those groups and what their role is? Yeah,
I think the library board itself is probably a good example of, if, say, you were interested in, supporting a group that you love and you want to get involved in some of the mechanics about how I personally work for the library board. That is what a director does. Is I have 9 bosses. Well, and arguably plus maybe the city manager. Right. So I stand on a bit of a teeter-totter. But the library board is incredibly essential to how we function. There's actually a state statute that sort of dictates my role, my responsibilities, and what they do. And they're really critical to hearing the ideas that myself and some of the librarians have about, we believe we should do these in the next 3 to 5 years. So sometimes it's not as exciting to some people. They're not interested in finance, but they're the folks who approve our budget that I present. They're also responsible for policy change. so how people can and can't use the space. But they're also important in sort of understanding and being a community-focused ear on how could this space and staff best serve the community. So not everything has to get approved by them, but it's a volunteer group. So very recently, actually, we have term limits. So if you were to ever serve like on many boards, not everybody ever wants to be in a board, but our board is a mixture of folks in the school district, employees within the city, former city administrators from other states, former teachers, and so it's a wide breadth of local realtors, and so they have volunteered to serve at least 3 years, and then there's term limits, so they can only serve 3 times. So at maximum, our current board president is going into her 8th, this will be her final year actually, so she's in her 8th year right now.
Okay.
But they're great. The Friends of the Library is a really powerful group for us, where it's another volunteer group or members who've donated money, and that money specifically goes back into programming an event or supporting the library in other ways. So I mentioned the possibility of a bookmobile down the road. They would be one of the groups that'd be really critical for us, that would help either do fundraising or they would donate the money themselves to help us get that project started. They're amazing. So most libraries don't have the blessing that we do, which is this type of group. They have friends groups, but our coffee shop, as an example, it is entirely volunteer run through the coordination of one person on staff their salary is paid for by the Friends of the Library. So it's a very unique circumstance. So they really go out of their way to be involved and to help us in any way they can. So it's pretty remarkable how many people, like I walk through the coffee shop, and anybody that's here, you'd think, oh, they're being paid to be here. I'm like, no, and it's not just retired folks, it's all ages and everything. So they're really great. We also have a third group, which is the foundation. So we've had individuals in the past who have donated to the library, whether it was small amounts or larger amounts, and we invest that money to grow it purposely so that annually we can use it for a variety of things. So maybe down the road we would do a renovation of the children's department, because that actually hasn't really been touched since 1996.
Oh, yeah.
When I was in high school and the renovation was happening, the library was at the Kmart on the south side.
Right.
So we haven't really done a renovation of that children's area. So the foundation would be a financial means that we could really kind of lift up bigger projects that could take a number of years or just are very expensive, so that we wouldn't have to go back to the community and like as tax levy dollars, that we could do a lot of the fundraising ourselves. And
I think it's incredible too that it's just people who are passionate about the library and they're taking the steps to help make it better. And I think that's so great to see.
Yeah.
As someone who appreciates libraries, it's good to see other people.
We're really lucky in that way. And I think it's sort of like the universe finds the right people for us at the right time. Like a good example of somebody that's volunteered for us more recently. We were just starting the planning process of thinking about how do we raise money for a bookmobile, and completely unrelated, individual was super sweet, had just moved here from Chicago, loves the library, and started talking to one of our children's librarians and said that she's a professional her day job is a grant writer.
Wow.
And it was like the timing couldn't have been any more perfect. So it's a pretty wide breadth of what people do for us, or they volunteer their time for us, and we try to match up their skill sets and their passions, because I don't like personally shelf reading, meaning like looking and making sure that things are organized. Right. But oddly enough, there's some people that really are more organized than me, and they like doing that stuff. So
right. Well, that's incredible. If someone hasn't been to the library in a while, you brought up how you guys are kind of changing the vibe, right? More coffee store, bookstore feel. What would be the first thing you tell someone to check out?
I would say if you come in now, if you haven't been here in a long time, and whether you park under the parking lot or you come in through the elevator, some of the things I'm proud of that we've done is trying to change the feel from like at our doorstep. So you come in, and the hallway now is local rotating art. And we'll be changing that every month, and it extends so far, like right now, especially with some of the art that we have specifically for children from the school district. It's in many parts of the library, but the amount of artists that we've had who've been kind enough to bring in stuff for an entire month. And so just to see that at our doorstep, and then kind of to see sort of the newer area by the main centralized desks that we have specifically for primarily adults and teens, and the children's is just right around the corner. The bigger thing there is us, and just being able to have folks interact with us as a staff. Like, we love that. We've really tried to shape it from being a just come in and pick your stuff up and walk out to, you know, chatting with folks, getting to know them. I've gotten to know a tremendous amount of our patrons, and if they don't see me over the course of a few days, I suddenly get knocks on the glass door by where I work, and they're making sure I'm okay. And so it's, I think a big part of it is just being with them and having a warm environment. So
yeah, absolutely.
not a great answer, but like, I think
no, it was good. It was good.
I mean, from the point of view is like, there's no individual spot. It's really like we want to interact with everybody coming through our doors.
Yeah, come see the whole thing is a great answer. As we look ahead at the rest of 2025, what's on the horizon for the Hedberg Public Library?
Well, some of it I can't say out loud, or I shouldn't, but like, again, we are really looking at purchasing and building a new bookmobile. So we've started to work on a plan for that. So we're not at the point where we can really start spilling the beans on everything. One hint I will say about that is, ironically, there's a company in the state that builds these.
Oh, nice. And
so they literally build them from the ground up. They actually are the same company. The NFL Draft will be in Green Bay this year. They're the company the NFL has asked to build their production trucks.
Oh, wow.
For that. And so they build Snap-on and a million other trucks. And so it's been really fun, and in reaching out to some of the other libraries that have done that, expanding the library of things for sure. I really think those are really impactful. I want to buy more passes to places like Discovery. I think it's Discovery World in Rockford and in other places. One of the other things I really have been mindful of, especially Charles, who's the assistant director, is what do we have that you would be interested in? And so one of the challenges we have right now is we don't have infinite money that we could buy 20 copies of what is the most popular book right at this moment, right. Onyx Storm on the New York Times bestseller list. So how do we better buy the things that we know everyone wants, and to have as many copies as we can have? We haven't had as graceful a plan to do that in the past, so we're working on that right now, because everybody's American watching this, and they all want what they want when they want it. And to be honest, it's, well, not everybody's American who's watching it, but the premise that I assume everybody wants is quickly as humanly possible. So that's a real big emphasis. The other thing too is we've been really focusing on changing kind of our customer service. We're trying to say yes to everything all the time is kind of probably the simplest statement, but we've spent a lot of time internally thinking about who we serve, why we're doing it, and the types of things that you would want or you would be interested in. Because I know you've come to some stuff and you're like, wow, I had no idea, that was really fun. And
yeah.
So it's not, it's, what's fun stuff and what's things that people need for their own edification. We have a staff person who helps write grants, and so she's sort of becoming known as the grants librarian, because they're like, you're Casey, the grants. So it's nice to see that change of people identifying, they don't think of this as just sort of an ivory tower of books anymore. It's really becoming a third space for many people. Folks in the middle of the day that are in their 30s and 40s who work from home, they're choosing to work here, which is great, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it at the beginning of the show and have kind of brought it up throughout it too. You're completing year one as the library director here in Janesville. What would you say is something you're most proud of accomplishing so far?
It'd be easy to say something like fine free, doing that. I really think I'm proudest of, and this is not very tangible, but like us in the building. We weren't always really great about, we're a really big staff. We're kind of a mini version of the city in some ways. We have people who their jobs are super behind the scenes, and most patrons would never interact with them, but they're incredibly essential to getting stuff so you can check it out. Or there's folks that are responsible for, all of this, and you guys are housed here, and we love that. And I think it's communication. I think it's a lot of us spend more time together than we do our family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the openness that we've started to gain with each other, the trust we have for one another, where we were pretty siloed and, we weren't, it's just such a big organization and literally such a big building. Like most of the time, the public only see half of it.
Right.
So I have a lot of patrons who are morbidly curious. They want to take tours and see what we're up to because we are so big. So I'm really proud of the fact that we've made a really conscious effort to like listen to one another, see, because if they as librarians and everybody that's on staff are really not happy, that's going to bleed into the public. And they need to be as happy as they humanly can, or I can try to make them as happy as I humanly can. So everybody's sort of learning the ways to kind of quasi-manipulate me to get me to say yes to things. Because at the end of the day, if they're happy, everybody else who comes in and visits us, whether in person or online, that hopefully they'll be happier.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. You say it's not tangible, but you can tell when you walk into the library now, it's just got such a warm, welcoming feeling, and you just feel happy to be here. You can feel that radiating off of you and the other librarians, So I think you've done a fantastic job in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure we've convinced folks of it now. And if they want to get a library card, how do they do it?
They better. No, it's really easy. It's actually so easy. That's one of the reasons why we have had so many people create them recently. So if you're interested, feel free to stop in anytime. It takes less than 5 minutes. Pretty low bar. You could even show up with no ID, and we have a flavor of a library card for that. Like we literally have one. It's like sort of you can 3 checkout limit if, and the reason we do it is there's some kiddos, their parents or guardians, they're not, they're never going to come here. And, so we have tons of different kinds of library cards, or you could do it as easily as online. There's a quick, simple form, and we end up actually mailing you the card. So.
Awesome.
No
Super
reason not
easy
to.
peasy. Yeah. You better get one.
If you like free stuff.
Yeah. Well, we are just about out of time today, Eric, but before I let you go, if folks want more information, how can they reach out?
I would say come here, look for my grinning face. You could also, I'm on the website too. You could simply email or call. I do have folks who do give me a quick call sometimes if they've got questions or concerns, but I'm pretty available.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eric.
No problem.
It's always great to have you on the program, and beyond behalf of myself and the viewers, I know we can all say that we're really excited to see what the rest of 2025 brings for the library.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And speaking of our viewers, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and for all you do to help make Janesville a vibrant and diverse community to discover life's opportunities. I invite you to stay connected with the city by following us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, signing up for notifications from the JPD via the Nixle app, and signing up to receive city press releases by visiting janesvillewi.gov/email lists. For Park Place Views and the City of Janesville, I'm Amanda Gilbert. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next month.